It's been a while since I've done a video, but I'm back now and Bitcoin's back and it's looking really good. We saw Bitcoin just hang out for a long time around that 80 to 85K range and even dip down into the upper 70s. But we finally saw it break out from 84K and now heading up and into the 90s and that mid 90K range. So that's looking really good. And of course, we saw a lot of the altcoins take off even higher than Bitcoin did, which happens when Bitcoin goes up. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about 5 of the best altcoins to look at to buy now. Even though these altcoins have had big gains in the last few days, there's still plenty of room to run, and they could go even higher. Of course, we could have a pullback, but they're not anywhere near where they're going to be by the end of this bull run, in my opinion. I was actually going to do this video last week, which would have been perfect timing, but I just had a lot of stuff come up because when I was going to do it last week, like the day after that is when Bitcoin just exploded up. But anyway, I'll talk about those 5 coins, and so go ahead and like and subscribe if you're not subscribed, and you'll notice I changed the name of this channel as well. I'm gonna still do crypto content, but kind of the overall theme of this channel is not only 10xing your money, but 10xing your life. And so I want to get into more things about mental health and physical health and even spirituality, because it's not all about gaining 10x money. I mean, that can help out your situation a lot, but there's a whole other side of it to where you can have a lot of money but be very unhappy, and you can have not a lot of money but you can be happy. And so that's really where we want to be. It's not all about money, but money is an important factor. So I'm going to bring in just kind of branch out a little bit into some different videos, and we'll see how that goes. The main thing, of course, that triggered this last run was Trump laying off on the tariffs, and mentioning he's going to push some of those back, and he's working out different deals, especially with China. He recently said after the U.S. after he put it up to 120% tariffs, he's like, it's not going to be anywhere near that. It's not going to be zero, but we're going to work on that and see where it goes. And despite what liberals are telling you, they just think Trump is this crazy nut that has no idea what he's doing, and he's just doing like these arbitrary tariffs just for no reason. And then he's realizing that they're not going to work and we're screwed, so he's pulling back on them. And that's not really what's happening. He's just trying to negotiate better deals for us as a country, because we've been screwed for so long, especially with China. And so just getting into this post here, kind of saying the similar thing from Next News, says President Trump is winning the economic showdown with China while the fake news pushes doom and gloom. The team is securing deals across the globe as China panics and threatens other nations. This is about saving American jobs and ending decades of theft. And then he goes into more about why this is the case. They've been ripping us off. So later on in this tweet, he says, economic expert confirms Trump will win because there's no way that China can retaliate without doing much more damage to their own economy. Our markets are multiple times higher than all the Chinese companies combined. So this whole thing, narrative about like we're so dependent on China, we're so dependent on all these countries to thrive, is just not true. And we're starting to use our position to more effectively to where we can negotiate and just not be the whipping boy for all these other countries. So that's what triggered this run, and really it's kind of stupid both ways. When people just overreact to these tariffs, like it goes down and then they say, oh, it's not going to be as high. Okay, I'll buy in now. It's just such an overreaction to where, and I get there's traders that are trading these short-term trends, but for me, like it's so much better to just look at the long term and don't fall for all this fake news, all this short-term stuff. Like it's the end of the world, just steadily dollar cost average into Bitcoin and other top cryptos, and don't stress about it, you know? So let's get into these 5 cryptos, and these are the top, some of the top cryptos that I believe will do the best with a low risk, high reward for the rest of this bull run. And the first one here is one of the most hated coins right now, and it's Ethereum. So people have just been really down on Ethereum because it hasn't performed well, but it's the only coin besides Bitcoin that has institutional backing. Right now we're seeing a bunch of institutions and BlackRock and everybody buying up Bitcoin, and eventually I think that's going to shift to the other asset that they can buy as a stock, basically as an ETF, and that's the Ethereum ETF. This video right here, this guy kind of shows what, you know, this is my Ethereum performance this year. That's kind of how Ethereum's been, just pretty sad, and we don't know what's going on with it. But it does have that institutional backing. It's where a lot of the institutions do their DeFi and bigger players and stuff like that. So not to mention all the layer 2s that are on Ethereum. I think a lot of those will do well also. And looking at, I've seen some projections out here for the top for Ethereum this bull run, and a lot of these experts out there are saying $7,000 to $8,000 as the top, which I could see, like if Bitcoin does a 2x up to around 200K, right? Then I think Ethereum could do a 4x, and that would put it right in that $7,000 to $8,000 range. You know, it's a good staple to have in your portfolio along with Bitcoin. Now, the second coin here that has huge potential, one of the best coins to buy right now, is XRP. And XRP, I mean, we saw, even though it has already had a huge market cap, like top 10 market cap, a few months ago, it still went from 50 cents up to 250, which is a 5x, which is pretty insane considering how big it is. It has the connections with the financial institutions and kind of being a settlement layer across borders, that narrative. And so that's a lot of money that it could gain, you know, a lot of revenue from taking over like the Swift system, cutting into their, you know, transaction revenue. So I think if you look at Ethereum doing a 4x, then XRP could easily do a 5x. And I think it could even go up towards that $15-$20 mark, and, you know, potentially around 10x, which would be insane. But again, it's like an institutional coin, right? Getting a lot of adoption. There's also a lot of like mystical prophecy stuff with XRP, which is kind of weird, but like a lot of religious, like people, Christian people have had visions and stuff of like they need to get into XRP. A lot of people said they had a vision of when it was like 50, 60 cents to get into it, and they did. And for whatever reason, there's just a huge cult following and a lot of prophecies associated with XRP, which is super interesting. The third coin here is Solana, and this is when people rush in, you know, get the craze of FOMO and getting into meme coins. This is the chain they turn to, and so this is going to benefit as things start turning around, and we could see Solana do something similar to XRP, like 5x and even into 10x. And if you know who ΔeVinci is, he bought Bitcoin at $1. I wish I was watching YouTube back then, because I probably would have picked up on it back then. But he basically says this, I'll play this, about where he thinks Solana can go and why.
I think Solana is going to surprise us and do something incredible. Not just a 10x, but a 20x in this cycle. Why? Because Trump opened up the floodgates to the meme coins. Yes, people are talking about him getting sued, but sued for what? He opened up a meme coin. I didn't say, go buy it. He didn't say, oh, it's going to the moon. He just said, I launched a meme coin. And then you all bought it. So this means meme coins are going to be exploding on Solana because Trump made so much money on it. So why couldn't any corporation or any famous person do the same thing?
So that's a good point. Seeing Trump's success with meme coins, what's going to stop other like companies and other celebrities from doing that? Now, we have had a lot of coins, celebrity coins, be rugs, which is concerning. There's always going to be those rugs with these meme coins. But overall, I think you're going to see an even bigger flood of, as this bull market progresses, people getting into Solana and all the meme coins on Solana. The fourth coin I'm going to talk about here is Ondo. And last year, real world assets were huge. They were the second biggest gainer in crypto. And so I think that's going to be the case again this year. And one of the clear leaders in this space is Ondo Finance. And they're actually backed by BlackRock. So they have that institutional backing behind them. They're not a scam like we saw with 𝗏𝗏𝗺𝗀, where the owners are, rugged everybody. There's a lot of just straight up assholes in crypto. There's a lot of scammers that you have to be careful about. And we saw that OM, even though it had a huge backing, people were talking about it like a blue chip coin. We found out that it was just fake and it was all a scam by their owners. But there's no indication that Ondo has the same type of scammy things going on that OM did that were warning signals. So this is the leader, again, with institutional backing, so it's more trusted. And in that RWA narrative, this is probably the safest play that you can go with for some big potential gains. And with, say XRP or Solana doing a 5 or 10x, Ondo, because it has a much lower market cap, could easily do a 10x or 20x if we get that big bull run that we're all anticipating here. As we see here from 𝗥𝗲𝗃𝗁𝗏, Ondo Chief Strategy Officer says the appetite for tokenization right now is very high, and he expects a lot of crypto exchanges to offer stocks and the like this year. And then we have from the Dark Knight, price still hovering above around 6.8 Fibonacci level. The level previously acted as strong resistance before the price went on a nice run, and we could see a similar scenario right now. Now, the fifth coin I'm talking about today, I mentioned RWA as the second leading narrative last year. The first leading narrative biggest returns came from AI. And looking at the leader in AI, decentralized AI, the leader in this space is 𝗏. And basically think of this as, we have ChatGPT, Grok, all these other ones. This is just the decentralized versions. Centralized AI has a lot of issues, like they basically use your data for their profit. And there can also be bias there in their results because you have corporations with their influence and viewpoints behind what they're developing. Whereas decentralized place like 𝗏, you don't have any of that going on, and there's more control over your data and what gets out there. It's kind of putting the control back in the person's hand that's using it. So that's why I like 𝗏. It has a lot of momentum. Basically the leader in AI crypto. And as we see here, Bitcoin Census says big opportunity on 𝗏, forming a massive W pattern that it recently broke up out of on the weekly time frame. The projected move gives a medium-term target of 1330 per token. So this is another one short-term, again, 4x, but long-term by the end of the year, potentially, again, an easy 10 to 20x. If we get Bitcoin go up to 200, 250,000, that's where we could see that. So those are my top 5 cryptos to buy now. I also wanted to give you a couple of bonus coins here for watching the whole video. And one of these that I really like is 𝗬. I've been calling it 𝗬 for the longest time, and I actually find out the correct pronunciation is 𝗬. 𝗬 is basically like Solana. Like what Solana did last cycle, 𝗬 is doing this cycle. And so there's far more potential for 𝗬 beyond what we could see for Solana. Solana does a 5 or 10x, right? We could see 𝗬 do 10 to 20x. There's a lot of DeFi stuff moving over to 𝗬. A lot of engagement in their community, cheaper and faster transactions even than Solana. So that's why I like 𝗬 there. And then the last one, bonus coin I'll give you is a low cap meme coin. My favorite meme coin out there is DOG. This is the meme coin on the Bitcoin network. And I think this is really going to have an amazing run here when people catch on to this coin, because it's similar to Bitcoin, or along that similar ethos of decentralized and not all these scammy meme coins that you see. Centralized, fairly distributed. So those are a couple bonus coins. Again, I think now is a solid time to buy, even though we could get a pullback. You might want to wait for a red day. That's kind of hard to do when you're FOMOing, but you ideally you should buy only on red days, and not buy in on these big green candles, but wait for a little bit of pullback. But I mean, we could have just sideways consolidation for a while. Doesn't necessarily have to go back down, and then we could have another rip up. So I think for me, the best thing to do is just dollar cost average into these coins. That's proven to beat a lot of other strategies out there. So that's it for those coins. I did want to mention too, there's a link in the description if you want to get in on the potentially make some money on the airdrop for Sonic chain, which is another chain that I'm bullish on. Even has a lower market cap than 𝗧𝗏, and it has a lot of the same speed advantages. It's a layer 2 solution basically, and very fast, very cheap, and you can basically interact on DeFi on Sonic apps, and even just for having your money on the Sonic chain, you're going to get passive points, and those points are eventually going to turn into an airdrop, which right now is valued at around $100 million. But if this Sonic coin 10x's, then you could basically get a 10x on the money that you get from the airdrop. Could end up being like a 10 or 20x, which could be even better. So if you're looking at airdrops to make some extra money, in my opinion, that's the best one out there right now. So you can click that referral link below to get into that. And that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.